Hello, and welcome to what I'm calling Paint and Yap. As the name suggests, while you watch me painting, I am going to yap about random shit, such as mental illness, for example. This is the piece I just finished. It's called Asian Squatting / Frog Spotting, featuring my friends Alex and Pooh and the little amphibian guy we encountered on the sidewalk. I was quite tickled by how the body postures of Alex and Pooh mirror the frog itself. When I showed Alex the painting, she said, "We are one with the frog. 'Tis the season of childlike wonder." And I said bars. This is the first painting time-lapse I've recorded in a long-ass time, so I am a little rusty. The lighting is a tad booty cheeks, but I tried my best, so please forgive me. While you watch the process of this painting coming together, I shall yap about my life. And to clarify, the yapping will not be related to the painting. I know this is chaos. I apologize. I hope you enjoy.
As I record this, I am currently home in Massachusetts on winter break after finishing my final fall quarter at Stanford. It's kind of wild that this will probably be the last time I'll ever be in Massachusetts for the foreseeable future. Y'all, I have had a shitter of a first week back. Monday, I flew back across the country. Flight was delayed an hour. I got extremely nauseous on the plane and tried to watch a Netflix movie that ended up having cannibalism in it, which made me even more nauseous. I got home at like midnight. It's winter on the East Coast, which means it's dark and cold as balls, which means instant seasonal depression. Tuesday, I went to the dentist for my annual teeth cleaning. I found out that I had a cavity in my bottom left molar because apparently I grind my teeth aggressively in my sleep. Then I got my first x-ray in like 2 years, which revealed that I had 4 fully impacted wisdom teeth that were pushing into my molars. My dumbass really thought that I was exempt from wisdom teeth. And this is because I remember going to the dentist when I was 12 and they were like, "Oh, your 6-year molars haven't even fully grown in yet." So my delulu conclusion was that my mouth would just be perpetually behind the game, so logically, I would just never grow wisdom teeth. But alas, I was gravely mistaken. The dentist told me that their office was gonna close for the holidays in 3 days, but I'd be back in California by the time they reopened, so I had to get the procedure done on Thursday, like 2 days later. I left the dentist in distress and alarm and consternation. Wednesday, I had jury duty. I was summoned over a year ago, but delayed it because of school, so I've had like a year to dread it. Now the time had finally arisen. I sat in a musty corner room of a musty courthouse with 30 strangers for 3 hours, and then we got dismissed because that day's trials managed to get resolved without need for a jury. Hallelujah for real. Did my civic duty so hard. Thursday, I ate like 3 breakfasts because I anticipated not being able to eat for the rest of the day, and I was correct. At 11:30, I pulled up to the dentist. To my dismay, they did not knock me out, but only gave me local anesthesia. The lidocaine injections were horrifically painful in themselves. Getting a big-ass needle jabbed into your gums multiple times is like medieval torture. The injections made me so numb that I literally could not move my jaw. The dentist was like, "Open!" And I swear I concentrated every fiber of my being into opening my mouth, but it just did not. Dentist man was like, sorry, I don't know how we're gonna do this operation if you cannot open your mouth." I was like, please, I did not come all this way for nothing. Eventually, they managed to pry me open, but my jaw was screaming. Because I was awake, I got to hear all the yummy drilling and bone cracking noises as they ripped the teeth out of my jaw. Music to my ears. They had to give me a 10-minute break after the first tooth because I was in so much pain I started crying. Bruh. But eventually I made it through the other 3. I survived. I overcame. At the end though, I started choking on my own blood and saliva, so the dental assistant lady shoved the little suction tube thing down my throat. That shit felt like being stabbed in the esophagus. And because of that, my throat hurt as bad as having like strep for the rest of the day. It was so bad that I couldn't even swallow my own spit. I got home, bled profusely for like 5 hours straight, drooled continuously for at least 10, and could barely even drink water because my mouth and throat were in so much pain. I also had a skull-splitting migraine. Mr. Dentist prescribed me oxycodone, so I got to do a little opioid taste test. But I took 2 and felt literally no change. I think that bodes well for my susceptibility, or lack thereof, to oxy addiction, because that shit did nothing for me. The pain and nausea were so intense that I couldn't even watch a movie. I was basically just lying in bed, crying and making deranged caveman noises, like ooh. In conclusion, wisdom teeth are a scam. Why can't we just evolve them away? Come on, Darwin, weren't you supposed to figure that one out? Sigh. The next day, Friday, I woke up with my mouth and throat still hurting like a mother father, and then immediately had to go to an eye doctor appointment. In the waiting room, I had a bunch of old people staring at me, presumably because of my unique fashion choice of 2 massive ice packs to the face. The reason I was at the eye doctor is because I have this thing called Coates disease, which according to iwiki.org is, quote, a telangiectatic neovascular disease of the retina of unknown etiology that frequently affects unilateral eyes of young males. Guys, it's just so tough being a young male with a telangiectatic neovascular disease of the retina of unknown etiology. In normal people English, Coates disease is when the blood vessels in your retina start leaking fluid, which can make your retina detach, which can make you lose your vision. So when I was 3 or 4, I had to get laser eye surgery to fix my eyeball. Since then, I've had to get my eyes checked every year to make sure my retina isn't being wacky again so I don't go blind. Because that would kind of suck. I have this wild hypothesis that maybe I might not be the best painter if I couldn't see. Anyway, for the eye exam, they have to dilate your pupils with these special eye drops, and the dilation lasts multiple hours, sometimes the whole rest of the day. It makes you super light sensitive, so bright equals ouchy, and everything is blurry, which means no reading, no looking at screens. So my wisdom tooth recovery looked like lying in bed in the dark, wearing sunglasses, icing my face, listening to podcasts about things such as Luigi Mangione and the corporate greed of America's healthcare industry. You know, only the light and relaxing stuff. Overall, a very restful, very festive start to my winter break. Speaking of restful and festive, I recently got diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder. Clearly, I tried very hard to come up with a transition. But before I get into all the juicy details, I want to thank today's sponsor, Milanote. Milanote is a tool for organizing your creative projects, helping you plan, brainstorm, and collaborate on ideas. It's perfect for visually arranging your thoughts and concepts in a way that makes sense to you. Many artists and creatives use it for storyboarding, collecting inspiration and reference photos, keeping track of tasks, organizing research, and more. You can start with a blank board and completely customize it yourself, or use one of over 100 built-in templates for all kinds of creative projects, like mood boards, weekly planners, YouTube video outlines, graphic design storyboards, marketing campaigns, etc., etc. This year, I'm in the honors program for my art major, which entails producing a body of work for a thesis exhibition coming up in the spring, and also producing a written thesis. I've been using Milanote to help me with planning and brainstorming. So this is my main board for the exhibition planning. I have important dates listed, like when I have to deliver my work to the gallery, when installation begins. I also have this to-do list of tasks that I have to complete in preparation for the show, like submitting my bio, exhibition texts, and descriptions of my pieces. Milanote lets you create boards within boards within boards ad infinitum, which I find quite funky, fresh, and cool. Here I have 3 subboards. I'm currently trying to decide how I want to present my work visually for the exhibition. I'm debating between either a linear layout, like typical gallery style with one painting lined up next to another, or salon style, where the paintings are hung floor to ceiling in a stacked format. So this is what it might look like if I laid out my paintings linearly. Here's my little pros and cons list. The pros. It's the standard vanilla format for displaying paintings, so it would be pretty intuitive to interact with. There would be less visual clutter because the spacing would allow for places to rest the eye, and the viewer would be guided along a clear path from point A to point B, which might encourage them to spend more time with each painting. The cons: lining up the paintings like this requires choosing an order, which I'm worried might preemptively limit interpretation by suggesting a narrative or a temporal structure. Also, the pieces I made this year are a bunch of different sizes. I have 24 by 12s, 24 by 18s, 20 by 16s, 18 by 18s, and I'm planning on making a bunch of 36 by 24s soon. I hope. A linear display might force me to arrange them based on what looks balanced in terms of size and spacing, instead of by theme or mood or color, which would limit my options for presentation. Now on to the salon style layout. First, the pros. Lumping the paintings together in this amorphous blob would allow me to resist imposing a hierarchy. There would be no particular implied chronology or priority. All the paintings and the people and moments they depict would be on equal footing. There would be more intimacy and interaction between the pieces, and the layout would convey how they're all part of an interconnected constellation of joy and memory and chosen family. Also, I have to share the gallery space with the 4 other people in the honors program, which means I'll probably only get one wall, so if I want to fit a lot of paintings in there, this might be the way. The cons of salon style: there is a distinct possibility that it might be a little too much visual stimmy. I don't want the paintings to bombard the viewer and make it hard to engage. I'm worried that someone approaching the wall might get overwhelmed and just not know where to look. Also, we get paired with MFA students who serve as our mentors, and something that my mentor warned me about is that a salon hang might give high school art show vibes, which is very valid. So that's another concern. I don't want it to look cringe. I think at the moment I'm leaning more towards salon style, but TBD. Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments. Milanote was super helpful in this whole process because before I was just picturing it all in my noggin, but now I can actually concretely visualize what it might look like. Now my final subboard is planning for my written thesis. I've compiled a list of the themes I want to write about, the literature I want to reference, and some artist inspirations. Most of them are figurative painters who create portraits of community. And then I also have some more artist recommendations from my grad mentor and my faculty mentor. Milanote lets me combine both text and images, which is perfect for brainstorming for a paper where I have to write about visual art. Milanote is available for free with no time limit, so click the link in the description to sign up for a free account. Thank you again to Milanote for sponsoring today's video. Now back to the mental illness. Earlier this year, I had really bad insomnia, so I was seeing a sleep doctor. I was having a lot of these rumination spirals, which would keep me awake for hours. So Sleep Docky gave me a referral to the Stanford Psychiatry Department because she was like, "Girl, you got anxiety." After many, many months, the appointment finally came. The psychiatrist asked me a bunch of questions, and he low-key roasted me for laughing while I talked about my trauma. I've always hidden behind humor as a coping mechanism because #healthy emotional processing, haha. He was like, "I noticed you're not very present in your emotions. You're talking about these difficult things, and you're laughing, but they're not very funny." I was like, God damn, tough crowd. At the end of the appointment, he was like, "Okay, this appointment was supposed to cover the full diagnostic, but I think we'll need another full hour because clearly you have a lot going on." So a week later, he continued to ask me even more questions. I was telling him about how I think I might have ADHD. I get distracted very easily. And it's not just I stop studying to scroll on Instagram, but more I stop studying because I get the sudden urge to check the dining hall menu for next Thursday, or to transfer some of the peanut butter in my fridge from a bigger container to a smaller container, or to look up how your body decides whether to expel gas in the form of a burp or a fart. Very important, very urgent stuff. I'm low-key illiterate because I have to reread sentences over and over again. The words will enter my eyeballs, but no meaning will be comprehended by my brain. One time I was studying with my friend, and in the time it took her to read 80 pages, 80, I read 4. I can't pay attention in lectures or meetings unless I'm simultaneously playing 2048. I even play 2048 during my virtual psychiatry appointments. It's so heinous. I can't comprehend videos or podcasts unless they're on 2 times speed. My mind sometimes wanders during one-on-one conversations. I get easily overstimulated by light and noise, like I even have to wear earplugs in the library. I struggle to watch movies or TV because I constantly zone out or feel the need to do something else. And I have these periods where I get really fixated on a specific task. Psychiatrist man was like, actually, I think you have bipolar. Let me tell you, I felt shocked and bamboozled and blindsided. The psychiatrist knows nothing about me, by the way, but he told me many artists actually have bipolar too. I was like, interesting. So maybe the tortured artist trope isn't purely a myth. The psychiatrist didn't rule out ADHD. I'm currently on a 7-month waitlist to get a neuropsych assessment, but he definitely thinks I have bipolar too. ADHD and bipolar can actually share a lot of symptoms, like increased distractibility, racing thoughts, restlessness, and hyperfixation. Bipolar often gets misdiagnosed as ADHD and vice versa. I like to think of bipolar 2 as like the chill version of bipolar. Both bipolar 1 and bipolar 2 have extreme highs and lows, but people with bipolar 1 experience manic episodes, while people with bipolar 2 have only hypomania, which is way more low-key. Manic episodes are characterized by abnormally high energy, feelings of euphoria and grandeur, reckless behavior, and sometimes psychosis, like delusions and hallucinations. Manic episodes often require hospitalization. My psychiatrist gave me examples of people hijacking cars or gambling all their money away. Hypomania shares some similar symptoms like sleeplessness, heightened excitement, feelings of invincibility, and obsession with a goal-oriented task or activity. Bipolar 2 is also characterized by depressive episodes that are often more frequent, longer, and more severe than in bipolar 1. When the psychiatrist first diagnosed me, I was like, ain't no way. Sir, you are incorrect. It just shook my entire conception of myself. Got me questioning everything. But maybe I just don't know myself as well as I thought I did. He was like, the hypomanic episodes might still happen, but what we really want to address is the depressive episodes. And I was like, depressed? Who, me? Later I was talking to my boyfriend, it was like, this psychiatrist dude thinks I'm depressed. Isn't that so silly? And he was like, maybe your depression isn't as evident to you, but it does feel very present. I was like, bro, what the fuck? Does the entire world think I'm depressed except me? Cause like, I've been depressed. There was a period in sophomore year where I was intensely miserable and suicidal for like a whole year straight. So that's been my benchmark for depression. I guess I was just maybe setting the bar too low. Cause since then, I have had days where I fall into an abyss of inexplicable sadness and can't get myself up off the couch. But then I get over it. So I'm like, no biggie. But maybe it was biggie. The more I thought about the bipolar diagnosis, the more it made sense. I remember once in high school, I stayed up all night reading my AP Euro textbook in my basement, even though I was already like 3 weeks ahead. And I could not care less about white people killing each other over different flavors of Christianity. But I just had to do it. There were also multiple times where I stayed up all night editing a YouTube video, and I felt super hyper and didn't sleep for more than 48 hours straight. And this is the big one. This past spring, I wrote a 60,000 word memoir in 3 weeks. I don't know what came over me. I usually struggle to write like 250 word discussion posts for class, but I felt like I was possessed. I slacked off of my schoolwork, barely ate or slept, and had these delusional daydreams that I could have a career as an author. I even designed a whole ass fake book cover. I swear most of this memoir was written in the notes app on my phone because I would always wake up in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m. with new ideas and then would have to type on my phone for hours before I could go back to sleep. And then after I finished writing the manuscript, I felt aimless and sad for weeks. At the time, I was like, that was a weird thing that just happened. But in retrospect, it is quite clear that my burst of literary creativity was just a hypomanic episode. Also, bipolar disorder is highly heritable, and I've always thought my mom was definitely bipolar. I've described her to multiple mental health professionals, and they've all agreed with me. So unfortunately, genetically speaking, this would make sense for me. Since coming to college, I've been collecting mental illness diagnoses like Pokemon. Thus far, I've been diagnosed with obsessive compulsive personality disorder, major depressive disorder, panic disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, bipolar 2 disorder, eating disorder not otherwise specified, aka a silly concoction of binge eating disorder, bulimia, orthorexia, and anorexia. And in addition, moreover, I might also have ADHD and PTSD, according to my psychiatrist. This state of affairs is so funny to me because I was in such hardcore denial for so long. In high school, I went through quite a bit of shit at home, so I was deadass proud of myself for remaining so mentally healthy, or so I thought. I remember one day I was crying, but then I looked in the mirror and was like, wow, I can't believe I'm not depressed yet. Good job! Even though I was having panic attacks in the school bathroom every day and eating entire jars of peanut butter and loaves of bread and pints of ice cream in one sitting and fantasizing regularly about unaliving myself. See, I did not know that eating disorders qualified as mental illness, and I didn't realize I was having panic attacks. I just thought I cried very hard, very frequently, and couldn't breathe sometimes. My only conception of mental illness was debilitating, immobilized depression, or full-blown psychosis. I had neither of these, so therefore I concluded I was perfectly mentally healthy. So I guess I have good practice with self-delusion. Even though I've had some of these diagnoses for a couple years, I never tried psychiatric medication before. Because in my mind, taking meds was going too far. But at this point, I'm like, fuck it. What do I have to lose? So for the past couple weeks, I've been on lamotrigine, which is a mood stabilizer, and also used to treat epilepsy. Do not ask me how that shit works. I do not know how that shit works. Doctor, give me pill, I swallow. I haven't noticed any big changes to my mood yet, because it's supposed to take a little while to kick in. But I have noticed that I've been waking up multiple times per night, soaked in sweat, and I've been having these crazy anxiety dreams. For years, I had not had dreams at all, or at least never woke up remembering any of them. But since starting the new meds, I've been having extremely vivid, distressing dreams, and sometimes wake up hyperventilating or crying. And after waking up, it takes me a bit to realize it wasn't real. In one dream, I was driving my dad's car, which doesn't make sense because he no longer has this car and also moved to China. I was driving his car and I forgot to adjust the seat, so for some reason I couldn't reach any of the pedals, and so I lost control of the car and drove into oncoming traffic. In another dream, this kid who low-key bullied me in 5th grade was using pliers from Home Depot to pull out 23 of my teeth. In another dream, I was being chased by my old boss from my high school job, and so I climbed up a pine tree to escape him, and I was about to fling myself off the top of the tree to commit die when I woke up with tears rolling down my cheeks. So yeah, not a fan of the dreams. I'm hoping my body is just taking time to adjust to the meds and will calm its ass down soon. But even if the dreams do persist, I think being depressed is more distressing to me than some spooky sleep. So if the lamotrigine helps with the other stuff, I might just take the L and make the trade-off. So yes, I have bipolar disorder. Yippee! Even though this new diagnosis has been jarring, it also feels kind of validating to have new vocabulary to articulate what I experience. In philosophy, there's this concept called hermeneutical justice. Hermeneutics is the branch of knowledge that deals with interpretation. So hermeneutical justice describes how language can empower, because it equips you with the ability to interpret your life. For example, before the term sexual harassment was coined in the 1970s, many women experienced yucky treatment, especially in the workplace, but stayed silent because they didn't know how to put it into words. but after they had a term to organize around, they could transform what had once been solitary, isolated experiences into collective power and resistance. I'm not trying to say that being diagnosed with a mental illness is the same thing as naming a widespread patriarchal social phenomenon, but I still find it a useful framework. Recognition can make things real, can transform abstraction into tangibility. The diagnosis has allowed me to better understand myself and has made me feel part of a community who share experiences similar to mine. It's given me a bridge to solidarity. Here is the final piece again. I had lots of fun painting this, especially the frog. I love frog. Frog's so awesome. Sorry if this video was kind of a mess, but I'm kind of a mess, so I think it's fitting. If you made it through the whole thing, I appreciate you. My hope is that yapping about mental illness might help destigmatize it, and also wisdom teeth removal. Hashtag normalize wisdom teeth removal. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you find a frog on the sidewalk in the very near future.
I'm like trying to think of a pose for a clickbaity thumbnail. Oh no, I have bipolar disorder. Ah!